Question. How many diets have you tried in your lifetime? 5, 10, more than you can count? And how many of them actually worked long term? Like truly, sustainably, not going back, worked. If you're being honest, probably none of them. And it's also not your fault. Today, we're talking about why the quick fix is not only ineffective, but it's dangerous. And we're going to show you what actually works instead. So stick with us. Why do we keep going back to quick fixes, even when we know they don't work? Welcome to the Coach's Hotline. Glucose, grit, and grace. Real talk with coaches, no sugarcoating.
We're here to help you ditch the diet cycle, stabilize blood sugar, and finally feel at home in your body.
Because health isn't about restriction. It's about freedom, energy, and confidence.
Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Health Coach Hotline, Glucose, Grit, and Grace. I am Coach Amber, and I am here with Coach Elaine Pierce and Coach Elaine McCormick. Good morning, ladies. How is everybody?
Good morning. Doing great today.
I love it. All right. If you're brand new here, boy, did you find us at the right time. Because every Tuesday, we sit down and have real, honest conversations about health, life, and what it actually looks like to take care of yourself after 40. No gimmicks, no shame, just the truth. And today's truth, it's a big one. We are talking about the dieting mindset. Why quick fixes are not just a waste of your time and your money, but why they're actually dangerous. We're going to get into the science, the psychology, and we're going to give you something better. Now, before we dive in, if this is your first time, please hit subscribe so that you don't miss out on our Tuesday drops, and go check out the other episodes when you're done today. There's really something for everyone in every area of your health. All right, so let's get into it. Let's start at the beginning, which is a very good place to start. Because I think before we can talk about why quick fixes don't work, we have to talk about why we keep falling for them. I will say for me personally, my coach and mentor, Carrie Lipoli, asked me how many diets I had been on. And so I was like, I don't know, it's been 4 decades. But I sat down and I started writing them down, and I came up with 26. I'm not confident that's it. But what I did also notice is that not only was it 26, but it was like, I've done that one 5 times, I've done that one 2 times, and things. So it's not even that I've just done 26 diets in 40 years. It was that I kept coming back to them.
Mhm.
And I don't think I'm alone.
Mm-mm.
So diet culture has been marketing itself to women, especially women, for decades. We had Slim Fast in the 80s, and boy, my mom and I were Slim Fast shake drinkers. In the 90s, everything was fat-free because fat was so bad for you. But then we had the Atkins, we had the South Beach, we had the Master Cleanse, and now we've got 75 hard. That sounds like it sucks just from the name.
Right.
Sounds hard.
It does. Well, right. Like, it's like, I'm telling you that this is going to be hard and it's going to suck. Why would you sign up for that? We've got keto now. We've got 30-day resets that promise to change your life if you just eliminate enough food groups. And every single time the message is the same. Oh, you just haven't found the right one yet. Or, my favorite, you didn't do it right.
Yeah.
You didn't have enough willpower. You must not want it that badly, which is baloney. The diet industry is worth over $70 billion. And it's built, intentionally built, on you coming back for more. Because if it actually worked, they'd be out of business. Think about that. So I want to ask both of you, what is your diet history? Because I think when we share ours, women are going to feel less alone in theirs. So what's your stories?
Oh my gosh, a lot of tears, a lot of crying. But I remember like when I hit puberty, I went to my mom and I said, "Gosh, mom, I feel like I'm gaining weight." So like middle school, right? I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I need to go on a diet. And she like laughed me off.
Oh.
And so that was like my first experience with you're not good enough or whatever. I don't know. Love my mom to death. We've repaired our relationship. Everything's fine. Don't worry about that. But that's kind of how it started, right? And then I started starving myself in high school. And then I mean, you name it, I've been on it. And I did, I've shared this before. I did the HCG, the shots or the pills. And I did it 3 times because, the first 2 times didn't take. So maybe the third time would be better. And by the time I had done it on the third time, my body was just so malnourished and so weak. My hair was falling out. I had no energy. It was horrible. And I had to have a surgery, and they're like, you have to get off of it. And I was crying because I'm like, if I get off of it, I'm going to gain weight. I know I do because I always do. I remember going to Weight Watchers and crying every time we had to do a weigh in. I did curves and their diet plan, and they're like, we don't know why it's not working for you. It just, it feels like I just kind of needed a super decoder ring and never got it.
Yes.
I mean, I agree. I felt like there was this magic formula and I just hadn't found it yet. I mean, and like you, Elaine, I started probably, we didn't have middle school, but kind of that middle school age. I remember going to diet workshop with my mom in the church basement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when I wasn't losing weight, it was about, oh, well, let's kickstart you. And I think I've mentioned this before, and I had cantaloupe and chicken for an entire week, all of my meals for that day, for that week. So, was it sustainable? Absolutely not. I mean, and then, so I went to diet workshop a couple of times, joined Weight Watchers, I don't know how many times, because every time they come out with a new program, it's got to work, right? And that's about
Right.
every year they revamp their programs. Um, the one thing that worked was I did OptiFast, where you did shakes, 800 calories a day. And I will tell you, I hit my goal weight for maybe 2 days. Because after I hit my goal, what I thought was my goal, and then after I started on real food, I started gaining weight like the next day. And I'm not talking 1 or 2 pounds. I'm talking like 6 or 7 pounds when all I ate was broccoli and a
Wow.
little bit of chicken. And it's like, what's going on here? But you know what? Like you, Elaine, I did it 3 times
Yeah.
because, I hit my goal weight once. So it must have been my problem that I couldn't stick with it. I must have done something wrong.
Mm.
Did it work as well the other 2 times? I'll give you two guesses and one of them doesn't count. Maybe. So, I was on this perpetual search on Google, the best dieting tips or the best diet out there. And, came up with the same things, the South Beach. And I think right now, I don't know, can you even buy Slim Fast anymore? Maybe you can, I don't know. But Premier Shakes. Yeah, I'm not sure either. I used to do Premier Shakes because I thought, oh, they're a lot like the OptiFast. So I can simulate the OptiFast by doing Premier Shakes 5 times a day. So I felt so defeated. I felt like I was unworthy. And we know that through our mindset, guys, we've worked a lot on how we feel about ourselves.
Mhm.
And the diet industry does not help us at all in that respect.
That's the truth.
I mean, why should they? They're making money off of this.
Right,
They do
right.
still make Slim Fast.
Oh, do they?
Did you look it
Yep,
up?
Okay.
I did. I Googled
Ugh.
it.
I wonder what it tastes like. Anyway, I'm not going to find out because
No.
yeah.
Well, and the thing is that we're three women from different parts of the country, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
our stories are all similar.
Yeah.
You know, the 26 diets and the never feeling like I was enough, and that that is something that when it gets ingrained early on is something that is really hard to get rid of,
Yeah.
and as women, I think we are much more prone to blame ourselves than anything else.
Yeah. We didn't do it right.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And the thing is that when you absolutely do it right, you may lose weight, which is an arbitrary word, right? Because if the number on the scale goes down, but it was muscle, technically you lost weight, but you didn't lose the good weight that you were looking to
Right.
lose.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And so the struggle is real, because you are doing, and that's why we're saying that yes, they can be incredibly ineffective and bad for your mindset, but they're also dangerous because you are doing so much damage to your body that you don't even notice
Yeah.
until much, much, much later in life. And I think actually this is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next is really getting into that biology. Because I think when women understand what's actually happening inside their bodies when they're on the crash diet, when they've pulled out an entire food group or they're eating 5 to 800 calories a day, they're going to stop blaming themselves. And I think that is everything. That's definitely, I know one of our goals is to teach women how to empower and not blame themselves anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of that is what we talked about. Like when I did this 800 calories, and I think with your HCG shots, those were also about, a low, what do they call it? Else low calorie diet, LCD or whatever it is. But
Mhm.
anyway,
Hmm.
is that our bodies are like, I'm not getting any food.
Hmm.
I'm starving myself. So what food I do get, because you're not giving me very much, I'm going to store it as fat.
Hmm.
Even if you lose,
Mhm.
you're losing, like you mentioned earlier, you're losing that muscle. And that muscle is, we all know, we do strength training. It takes a while to build it. But
Hmm.
Yes.
unfortunately, we can lose it much quicker than we can build it.
Yeah,
So
that's the
that's
truth.
why, yeah. And that's why we have to be so careful about losing it the right way and giving our body the sustenance that it needs so it doesn't think that you're starving it.
Yeah. Yeah. So the biology of it is when we're not getting what we need enough for our bodies to live, like you mentioned, Elaine, our body still needs that energy to live. And so it has to find it somewhere. It stores everything it's getting as fat as insurance for later.
Yep.
And it metabolizes our muscles because our muscles are easier to convert into energy than fat is. And so that's why it goes for muscle first. And they're also seeing a lot of people who are doing GLP-1s long term. They're also seeing a lot of bone degeneration. So
Yeah.
women in
That's
their 20s and 30s are getting osteoporosis. And your bones and your muscles are longevity. That's what gives you long life. Because if you have, bone strength, you can trip on a curb and land on your knee and not break it. Or if you have muscle strength, you can get down on the ground and get back up without needing help, or sit down on a toilet and stand up. And that's underrated. I had a hip surgery. It is underrated to be able to get up off the toilet yourself.
what we miss, isn't it?
Right, right. You're like, I never realized what a gift this is.
Yeah.
But if we don't build our muscles, if we don't keep our muscles, we're going to end up in a nursing home earlier than we ever imagined.
Hmm.
And I can tell you, I recently had a foot injury. I took a misstep off of my porch turned my ankle. And I can tell you when I went into the doctor because of my age, I'm over 60. They were like, it's going to be 12 to 18 weeks for you to recoup. And I was like, are you kidding me? It
Oh,
did
wow.
break. So I didn't break it. And I thought, well, maybe I would have been better off had I broken it. But to me, that speaks for my strength training. And I can tell you, I'm actually standing and it's been 7 weeks. So
Wow.
I'm able to put the weight on it. And a lot of that has to do with because I'm feeding my body what it needs. And I'm doing the strength training to help keep that muscle. So again, muscle is so important. And like we've said, if you start pulling from that muscle, it just kind of it affects and impacts so much more.
Everything. Your
Yeah.
energy, your recovery, everything.
Well, and I want to circle back to something that you, Elaine, had said after you did the shakes. When you started eating real food, we know from the research and biology and science that the weight that you lost was a lot of muscle.
Yeah, because I wasn't
And
exercising.
exactly.
Mm,
Right.
And we also know that when the weight comes back, it doesn't come back as muscle.
No,
mm-mm.
It just
comes back.
comes back as stored fat because that's the insurance that your body needs because it doesn't trust that you're going to feed it. And so I
Does-
think, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, the diet industry doesn't tell us that.
No.
They
Mm-mm.
say you're going to lose the weight. And that's why when people say, I just want to lose weight, there's so much more involved with that. So,
Yeah. I mean, like that's a loaded statement if you really think about it. Because what do you want to lose? Well, I want to lose stored fat. I don't want to lose the muscle, you know. And when you do it with extreme dieting, extreme calorie counting, cutting out food groups, you're doing damage and you're setting yourself up for a world of continuous dieting cycle, which
yeah,
can
Mhm.
be really scary.
it
Mm.
is. It is.
Also, want to congratulate you on your faster healing. That is
I
amazing.
know. I was too. When I went into my doctor's like, you can start putting weight on your foot. I'm like, what? It hasn't even been 12 weeks. It's like,
Mm,
yep. So
like
yeah,
12 to 18 weeks, my nose. I'm
exactly.
going to
I
heal
got kids
sooner.
to do, got ladders to climb and stuff.
Right?
Stuff to
You're
do,
like,
man.
I am a very active lady. I do not have time for 12 to 18 weeks of nothing.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I want to take this to a little bit of a deeper level because I think that this is a part that does not get talked about enough in diet culture. I feel like we do a pretty nice job of talking about it, but I also think it begs repeating because usually the loudest voices win and the loudest marketing wins.
Mm.
Um, but I'm going to say something and maybe uncomfortable for people, but it's okay because you all deserve the full picture. We've talked about what quick fixes do to your body physically, but what do they do to your mind?
Mm.
When you've been on and off diets your entire life, which we all three of us have been, and I'm guessing at home you're listening and you're going, uh huh, yeah, me too. Something happens with your relationship with food. It stops being nourishment and it becomes a moral issue. And we've talked about this. You're being good or you're falling off. You're clean eating or you're cheating, which is a cruddy thing to be labeled. Oh, I'm cheating. Nobody wants that. So you feel guilty at the birthday party for having the cake. You avoid going to restaurants with friends and you hide what you eat from the people that you love. So think about how much brain capacity you're using around food.
Mm.
Like that space could be used for so much more. And yet we've been trained by the diet industry that we need to focus on the food. And that is not a healthy relationship with food, and for some reason that road leads to places that can be even more serious. to patterns that look like disordered eating, anorexia, bulimia. And we're not diagnosing anyone today. So please don't hear that. But we are naming it because somebody listening needs to hear what they're experiencing is not normal. And they also need to know that it's not their fault.
Mhm.
So if this is resonating, take a step back and breathe and just kind of look at what you have going on, what you really want, and then make some decisions to move forward, which I understand is not as easy as it sounds. And there's also support that you can get out there.
Sure.
So, the danger of the quick fix mindset isn't just physical, it's the years of your life that you spent at war with your own body and your own brain. And coaches, I know we've seen this in our clients. Would you guys tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I before I ever saw it in my client, I saw it in myself.
Mm, fair.
I spent so many years hating myself,
Mhm.
looking at pictures and going, oh, you're so ugly, you're so fat, you're so this, you're so that. And doing everything for my quote health out of despise for myself
Yes.
rather than love and support.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, why I'm a coach for this now, is because that change that happened when I learned about the mindset and when I learned about metabolism and blood sugar balance and all the things that we teach. I remember sitting on the couch and crying when I read how hard my body is working to keep me alive, despite what I'm doing to it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like this switch flipped for me, and I started to respect my body, started to appreciate it for what it was doing instead of hating it for what wasn't happening. And that was life changing for me. It was like night and day. I went from hating exercising but doing it because I hated myself, to finding ways that I could support myself and make myself feel healthier without berating myself. That was
So
Yeah.
powerful.
powerful.
And it is. And I know one of my clients, I know we talk a lot about women, but I've had quite a few men clients as well.
Mhm.
And I think in some cases, men feel it, but they're not necessarily feeling it from the magazines and the things that come
Yes.
up. Okay. They still feel it. So
Mhm.
please don't discount that. I think they more internalize it than what women do. And I can tell you that one of my clients, he was like, no one's ever said anything to me about how to eat. I mean, it's not in auto mechanics or motor trend or anything like that, right? They're talking about cars and engines. But if you think about it, if we don't give our engines, our bodies, the right gas, it's not going to perform just like that car isn't going to. And
That's
that, like I said, that's where my client said, no one ever told me how I should be eating, to the point where he's like, I don't know what a carb is. I don't know what a protein is. And I don't know what a fat is. So, that was just like, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean you don't know? Because we've had that ingrained in us since we were, middle school or whatever it was. We knew when things were fat free, we knew what was a fat. We knew as women what was a carb and what was a protein because it was so ingrained on us. I said, when we were in the fat free phase, I remember, I think it was like a package of goldfish. And it said free. It was fat free, but it's full of sugar. Okay. So that is not always the best for us. And I think that's where some of that danger comes in. Like you said, Amber, yeah, those goldfish were absolutely fat free. No, I'm sorry, not goldfish. The Swedish redfish is what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
The candies.
just on the package, fat free, and it was absolutely fat free. So now, was
My
it good for
favorite
me?
is the candies like the Swedish fish that say they're gluten free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Why would there be gluten in there? It's just
exactly.
sugar.
And it's all marketing. We are so
Yes.
Mhm.
influenced by that marketing, and it plays with our head.
Mhm.
It plays. I mean, look at some of the commercials that were back there, even today. I
Oh,
mean, I'll
yes.
watch some of the commercials and it makes me mad.
Mhm.
Why are we doing this to our kids? Why are we doing this to our younger generation? Why are we doing this to us, even at our generation? I'm in some groups on Facebook and stuff, and many times I'm amazed by how many women in their 60s or 70s are still, and I guess because I've been living this now for what, three, almost 4 years, it's like I'm just amazed. I'm like, I should know about this.
Right.
So, but I can tell you that mindset, I can still go back there every once in a while, but I have found I don't live there.
Mm.
So I've had enough of work that I've done on myself, enough learning to realize that people are trying to influence me, not necessarily in a good way.
Mhm.
And I've learned how to get out of that, how to go forward versus moving backward. So
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Elaine. Because again, even knowing everything I know and coaching this, I will catch those dieting mindset narratives popping up in my brain,
yeah,
especially in times of great stress or when I've got
mhm,
a ton of things going on. It is not uncommon for my brain to revert back to what I call survival mode, which is all dieting mindset. And that's where I'm super thankful for all my fellow coaches because I lean on you guys. And I may not be asking you what should I have for lunch, but I do reach out to you for that mindset piece that please remind me to breathe because the food part, I know how to do that. But it's the daily grind, it's the stressing yourself out and the breathing that I also think is so critical in how successful we can be when we're showing up for ourselves and being nice to ourselves and loving ourselves. That's the secret sauce.
yeah.
You know,
Indeed.
it's not the food list. It's us,
Yeah. Yeah.
You bring up the stuff about, quick fixes. We
Yeah.
all know, like I said, I've been doing this now for 3.5, almost 4 years. I know it's not a quick fix.
No.
Am I 100% there? No. Will I ever be? No.
Mm-mm.
Am I looking for those quick fixes? Not anymore.
No.
Because this is a lifestyle for me and I know what makes me feel good. And
Mhm.
I have a choice. I can feel good and I can feed my body the way it needs to be, or I can eat the ice cream and the candy and the Swedish fish, which are fat free, by the way. And I can have all of that, but how am I going to feel later? And I don't want
Yeah.
to feel like that
Yep.
anymore. So the quick fixes are not a quick fix. I think
No.
they actually take you back to the
Yes.
point where I don't want to say we're starting over because we always like to try and say we're starting from where we are, but it just takes us back a little bit.
Yeah.
So
And sometimes a lot of it, depending on how much we're hating ourselves that day.
yeah,
I know for me, when I was super angry with myself about my weight and my choices, I mean, I said on our gastric bypass episode, I was so mad at myself. I chose the most restrictive surgery because I deserved it, because I
Mhm.
could not handle things.
yeah,
And when you get to that point of desperation where you're willing to do anything, that's when you need the support the most, and that support wasn't there.
Mhm.
Um, Thankfully, I have it now. And I'm so blessed to have it. Um, but I also think that that's something we do a lot of this in silence.
I do. Yeah.
Like
mhm,
we all talk about diets and oh, I'm doing keto and I'm fasting, but we do it in silence.
we
Yeah.
do because we're
We'll
embarrassed.
we'll name drop diets. We don't really
Yeah,
talk about it.
right. And I think part of that is because we're embarrassed because we
Yeah,
failed.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so you
Yeah,
don't want to be known as a failure.
no,
So,
because you get praise when you win. When
Mhm.
you're
absolutely.
skinny, you get praise. They don't
And you
know what
get
you did
praised
to your
for
body to
sacrifice.
get there,
Yep.
but they praise you.
Yep. They do.
And so. All right, so I feel like we've done some really good work on the hard part. We've named the traps and we've explained the biology. And I think we've also honored how real the damage is. I mean, we could go on for days, but just knowing that those extreme restrictive diets are truly doing damage that we're not even feeling necessarily, although hair loss and low energy is a good sign that your body does not love what you're doing. Um, I want to give you something better because that is always our goal on this podcast, not just to expose the problem, but really to hand you a way forward. What 1% can you do today or tomorrow morning that is really going to move the needle in a direction of health and love for yourself? And I do believe that that starts with mindset, and that really that dieting mindset that says restrict, earn, cheat, restart. We need to move that into a freedom mindset where we're nourishing consistently. And this is something that I can do for the rest of my life. And I can eat the cake because I fueled before and I'm 3 hours away from my next balanced meal. So that cake that is deliciousness is not going to have that large of an impact on my blood sugar and my overall body health because I've been balancing it.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that you talked about, Amber, and that was what was helped me the most and still helps me to this day, is if I do have the ice cream or the cake that, and maybe it wasn't, I had more than I should have.
Mhm.
Before I would have like, oh, why did I get the triple scoop when I should have just got the single scoop? But you
Mhm.
know what? Now it's like, okay, that was good. It was fun. I am now stuffed, but I also know that in 3 hours, I'm back. I don't want to say back on. I am now in my lifestyle because I'm going to have a protein, a fat, and a carb in 3 hours. Maybe a smaller amount, but that's okay. And that has helped me more. I mean, all of it has helped. So don't get me wrong. But the idea and that thinking that in 3 hours, I'm at my lifestyle. This is the way, and I can work with that. I can do that.
Mhm.
So,
I love that. And I think we see that in our clients as well, too, right? Is that food doesn't have power over us anymore
Yep.
because we are choosing. The food isn't telling us it has to be eaten or it has to be restricted. Right. So I had a client, she was like in the middle of the jump start and she was feeling really good. So the jump start is, when you're saying no to some certain foods because they cause inflammation
Mhm.
and you're trying to get the inflammation out of your body. And then afterwards, you test them to see what your body likes and what your body doesn't like. But so she's in the middle of this jump start, and she walked into a going away party for someone, and they're like, "Oh, here's cake." And she looked at the cake and she said, she told me this later. She said, "Normally, I would have taken it without thinking about it, and it would have been in my mouth before I even had a thought." She said, "But I looked at that cake and I thought about how good I was feeling. And I decided I didn't need that cake. I didn't even want that cake. And so I went to the table and I grabbed some meat and some fruit," she said, "and I was perfectly happy with my choice and I didn't feel deprived." And so it's those feelings and that mindset of we're not being deprived, we're making choices, we're not losing out, we're not wrong, we're not shame spiraling, we're just making choices. And
yeah,
that's so freeing.
it is. It's empowering.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
for sure.
And
Congratulations to your
oh,
client.
say that again.
Congratulations to your client.
Yeah. Yeah. She did a good job.
That
Yeah.
is so powerful,
Yeah.
you know. And for her to be able to vocalize it and realize that, hey, wait a minute, I showed up for myself. Because
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
when we're not used to showing up for ourselves, I also don't think we're very good at recognizing that we did,
Right.
you know? So I think that's huge. And the results really aren't just physical. Um, the women who shift into this mindset tell us that they feel more free with food. They feel free from the obsession, from letting the scale decide their worth for that day. And from starting over again every Monday because, and I have a client, she's like, I love that I'm only 3 hours away from my next balanced meal.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's like, because I do. Sometimes I will go to dinner with friends and I'll have a beverage, and she's like, and I wasn't necessarily intentional about it, but I knew that I was only 3 hours away from the next meal. And so there's a lot in that. So what I would love to do is let's talk about what this actually looks like in progress. So, coaches, what are the first changes that you see that you saw in yourself, but also in your clients?
That empowerment. It's the fact, I mean, because we always say there is nothing that's off limits. And how
Right.
many times have you heard a quick fix or diet say there's nothing off limits? It's more of how we pair it. And when people realize that they can have anything that they want, okay, it's just like, wait a minute, I don't know how to handle this because they've never been told that before.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I think that is one of the big realizations that I see that my clients see when they understand that there's nothing off limits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And my clients are always so amazed that everywhere you go, there's proteins, fats, and carbs. So you can make choices for yourself out to dinner with friends or on a cruise or, you know, at home. It doesn't require perfection. Either the decision or the circumstances don't require perfection because there's always the opportunity to make good decisions for yourself or make decisions. And I'm going to say that sometimes cake is a good decision for yourself because it's feeding your soul, right? Because you don't have to, if you have been intentional about it and you've chosen and you've told yourself, hey, I'm going to go to this party and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of cake because I love birthday cake.
Right.
That's being good to yourself. And so
Yeah.
there's no more shame spiral. There's no more guilt over what we do. And my clients are so amazed at that. And they're so amazed at actually how easy it is to choose a protein, a fat, and a carb every meal.
Yeah.
Love that. All right. So we are coming towards the end of this episode. But before we go, I want to do a takeaway round. So, what is one thing that you want our audience to walk away with today? And Elaine, I'm going to start with you.
So I think if you can walk away from this episode knowing that it is not your fault that the diet industry is failing you.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with your willpower or your choices or anything. Um, because they're not teaching you the why, they're not teaching you the how, they're just giving you the what. And then when you slip up or you make a mistake or accidentally eat 1 grain of sugar on Whole 30 and feel like you have to start all over again, that's not that's not how life was designed to be.
Exactly. I think for me, kind of going back to that biology is look at what that food does for you. Look at how awesome your body is. Your body's trying to support you. And if we can help it to be able to support you, that just does so much for our longevity, for how we feel as we age. But, knowing that we're burning fat instead of muscle I mean, we just feel better. I mean, because
Mhm.
when you lose that muscle, I mean, I can tell you if you recently had someone who was in the hospital for 5 days, and it was amazing how weak they were because they were total bed rest. How weak they became in those 5 days. When you're not allowed out of bed and the alarm goes off, when you get out, you don't get out of bed and you don't move much. And and building that muscle back up can take time. But if we've been doing it the whole time, it doesn't take nearly as long.
Yeah.
So look at that biology. Eat the things that are going to help you to burn that, to build muscle, not burn the muscle, but to build that muscle and burn the fat.
Yeah.
Because, that's what we teach. And to me, that has just been life savings. And that's not something you're going to get from a quick fix because it's all about deprivation. So.
Absolutely. I think the takeaway that I want people to have is the chasing skinny versus choosing health. I spent over 40 years chasing skinny because I thought that that was health.
Mhm.
But what we've talked about today is that quest for chasing skinny, where we're doing the restrictive diets, food groups, calories, are really hurting our bodies. So we're not achieving health. So there is a disconnect between skinny equaling health. What I have learned is that when you choose health, and you are balancing your blood sugar and nourishing your body in the way that it needs to thrive, losing weight is a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
So when you chase skinny, you very often will not get health, if at all. But when you choose health, you will release stored fat. And that's I think that's something really important to know. The healthiest version of you will get rid of the weight that it doesn't need just organically. All right. So I have a challenge for you. Um, and it's super easy ish. I just want you to notice your diet language. So every time this week you catch yourself saying, oh, today was a bad day, or I cheated, or I need to do better, I want you to pause. And I want you to replace it with one question. Did I nourish my body today?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no, guess what? Your next meal, you could answer it yes. And if the answer is yes, then pat yourself on the back because nourishing your body is exactly what your body is looking for. It doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs the nourishment and it just needs you to keep showing up for it. And be careful about what you say to yourself because the way that you talk to yourself about food becomes your relationship with food. And you deserve a relationship that's built on nourishment, not punishment. All right. So before we let you go, if today's episode hit home, I want you to do one thing. Please share it. Send it to someone in your life who is on their fourth diet this year and wondering why they keep failing. And then tell them it's not that they are failing, the system is failing them. And this conversation might be the one that changes things. If I had heard this years ago before I had gastric bypass, I probably wouldn't have had it. And while you're at it, subscribe if you haven't so you never miss a Tuesday morning conversation. And go listen to some of our other episodes. We cover the 6 spinning plates of health, which are the areas that we focus on to be the healthiest versions of ourselves. Alane, any final words?
I just think knowing you're never alone and you can, it's forget the marketing, forget the the ads that are strewn across the magazines and do what's right for your body.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. We love you. We believe in you. And we'll see you next time. So until then, nourish yourself because you are worth it. Have a good day.
Bye bye.